Hello, so creative, is Faustina here. Welcome to another interesting tutorial. In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to cut and sew your 360-degree fillet on a peplum top. Like this peplum top, though is a shirt form, so you are going to learn how to cut your shirt, your simple shirt, your 360-degree fillet, how to get the exact radius for your 360-degree fillet, and also how to measure your fabric in order not to waste your fabric. So I'm going to teach you how I sew this shirt top. You can see that it's looking good on me. You can wear it with your corporate pants and you can wear it to your corporate outfit. It's so fine and nice. So if it's something that you like to learn how I cut and put it together, keep watching. I've not added our button, so I'm going to take it to the market to go and add button, but until then you can see how it's looking on me. So let's get straight into it. I'm cutting it with just 1.5 yards of fabric with our lining. So I'm going to just draft out the upper part. The upper part is so simple because it's a shirt. It's because of people that does not have idea on how to draft clothes. That is the reason why I'm drafting it. I've marked out our starting line, and on that starting line we are going to impute our shoulder divided by 2 and our neck width of 3 inches. And on that shoulder divided by 2, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I'm going to slope it into my neck width. So this is just the basic block that you can use to alter any design of clothes that you want. So I'm going to now divide my bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches will give me the depth of my chest line, which is also known as your armhole line. So I mark it into several places and I rule it out like so. So on that chest line, I'm going to also impute my shoulder divided by 2 as well in order to get our armhole line like so. So on that armhole line, from the chest line, I'm going to go up by 3 inches. So I decided to label it, went up by 3 inches and go in by 0.75 and taper it to the shoulder slope. And on that chest line is where we are going to impute our bust divided by 4 measurement. I'm going to now impute our bust divided by 4 measurement value. And because it's a shirt is not fitted on the body, it's a shirt peplum top, so I'm going to add 1 inch ease allowance. Ease allowance is different from your sewing allowance. Ease allowance give your clothes freeness. So from the starting line as well, I came down by my underbust and my waistline, from my shoulder to my waistline, which I went ahead to rule out like so. And this is my underbust. So on my waistline, I'm basically going to do my waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch ease line. So shirt does not have that at the front part. Shirt does not have any form of that at the front, so I did not add any form of that there. So to alter the neck, I went in by 1/2 inch, which is 3.5 by 3. The width is not 3.5, while the depth is 3 inches. So I curve it like so, and that will serve as the front shirt. And remember, you are meant to add button allowance, but because we want to attach the button allowance different, that is why we did not add any button allowance at this front shirt. So this is how we calculate the length of our peplum. So the length of my blouse is 24 minus from your shoulder to your waistline, which mine was 7. So the remaining allowance was 7 plus 1 inches sewing allowance. Both the allowance you are going to use to sew the peplum and the one you are going to use to hem the down part, I added 1 inch. So for the back, the center back is going to be on fold, and I went ahead to mark the starting line as well. On that starting line, I'm basically going to repeat what I did for the front, impute my shoulder divided by 2, come down by 1 inch for my slope allowance, and I'm going to, on that shoulder slope, come down by my armhole depth, which I rule out, and on the armhole depth I imputed my shoulder divided by 2 as well in order to get our armhole line. So this armhole line for the back, I find the midpoint and I went in by 1/2 inch. So that is the difference between the front and the back. the front we went up from the chest line by 3 inches, but for the back we find the midpoint. And on that chest line I also added my bust divide by 4 plus 1 inch ease allowance, while I imputed from my shoulder to my waist as well, and I went ahead to impute my waist divide by 4 plus 1 inch ease allowance. So if you want to add that on your back or shirt peplum top, you can go ahead now and add it, but if you don't want, you can also leave it, because shirts don't have that, they are free top. So the neck depth of this back is just 1 inch, 3.5 by 1 inch. The neck width is 3.5, while the neck depth is just 1. So I went ahead to cut it as well, and that is it for the drafting of the both the up front and the back. So I'm going to transfer the pattern to fabric, so which I have done, and I added 2 inches sewing allowance by the side. For the back, like I said earlier, the center back is on fold, like folded, while the front, the center front, is not on fold, because we are going to add button allowance on that center front. So I went ahead to cut it. On the armhole I added half inches, shoulder I added half inches, neck I added half inches, while on the down part of our top I added half inches as well. So that is it for the back, and look at what it gave us. Yep. So we are going to go ahead and cut the lining as well for the back. So for the front, like I said, the center front is not on fold. I also went ahead to add 2 inches by the side, half inches on the down part, and half inches on the center front, which will give us the allowance we are going to use to add our button allowance as well. So the button allowance I wanted to add on this particular shirt is that additional button allowance. Is not called together button allowance, is separate button allowance. So I'm going to show you how you are going to achieve it, so keep watching. So after cutting out all our patterns, we are going to go ahead and cut the lining the same way we just cut out this pattern now. So I cut the lining the same way I cut our working fabric, and this is how it's looking. So I'm going to open up our working fabric and place the lining on top of it. I'm going to use the lining to close the side, use the lining to turn the side so that it will be neat. And for the front as well, I use the lining to turn the side. I placed our main working fabric and I placed the lining on top of it, which I went ahead and sewed the two side of both the back and front. And this is the outcome. You can see how neat and fine is looking. At this moment, you can now go ahead and iron press it on your ironing table. So I'm going to now go ahead and start joining it, which I lay the back on the floor and place the right side of the front to face the right side of the back. I will put the front to face the right side of the back on this other side, and I will also repeat the same thing on this other side. And I'm going to go ahead and join the side. Remember, we added 2 inches sewing allowance, so after turning it with lining we'll be left with 1.5, which I marked. And on the shoulder I mark out half inches, which we added while transferring our patterns to fabric. So I'm going to go and sew it. So I've gone ahead to sew it, and this is what it gave us. You can see how pretty our shirt peplum 360-degree flare is coming out to be. So the next thing you should do now is to measure all around the waist of what you just sewn, so that we can go ahead and start calculating how to cut our 360-degree flare. So what I got was 48 inches. So I'm going to keep it aside, and we are going to start working on our 360-degree flare. So let me bring paper so that you understand what we are doing. 360-degree flare is a full circle, and the radius of a full circle is 6.28. that is the radius of a full circle. So 48, we are going to divide that 48 by the radius of a full circle. 48 divided by 6.25 will give us the value of what we are looking for. So in your own case, what we are going to use to divide yours is the circumference of your waist. If your waist is 40, you can go ahead and do 40 divided by 6.28. If your waist is 30, you can go ahead and do 30 divided by 6.28. It will give you the perfect radius of a 360-degree flare, which is a full circle. So this is how you fold your fabric. Firstly, you fold into two like so. After folding into two, you now fold another one. You see how I folded it. So if you don't understand how I'm trying to explain this, watch this video very closely. So after folding the first fold, I went ahead to cut it, like as if I want to cut it into two. I fold it again, making it a 4 folding. After folding your fabric from one end of your fold, you are going to start imputing the radius we just calculated, which is our waist divided by 6.28. The value it gave us is what we are going to use and place our tape on the tip of what we just fold and turn around it. So that is the first thing that you should mark, which is the radius. The second is the length of your flare, which the length of our flare is 8 inches from our calculation, and that is what I just marked. So this is how you check if the radius you just mark really match the circumference of your waist. You use your tape to measure it back round and times the value it gave you times 4, and the value you are going to have will be the circumference of your waist, and is what I just got. So I went ahead to cut the length of my peplum, and that is how our peplum is. You can see that it is a full circle. I have to slash one side of the peplum, and this is what we have. So what we are basically going to do is to bring in the upper part, which is from our shoulder to our waist, and we are going to start sewing the peplum around the circumference of our waist. And that is it. I'm going to move over to my sewing machine and go and run a stitch and come back and show you. So I've gone ahead to sew it, and this is the outcome. You see how pretty it's looking already. Yeah, our shirt is coming out so pretty. So the next thing we are going to do now is to attach our button allowance. Like I said earlier, we made use of attached button allowance. So what I'm basically going to do now is to measure from that neck to the length of my peplum to know what I have. So the button allowance is going to be as long as what we just measured now, while the width is going to be 1.5 inches. So I went ahead to fold our fabric into two, and I'm going to cut out 1.5 inches, while the length is what we just measured right now, and which I went ahead to cut into two places, because we are going to cut one for this other side, one for the left and one for the right. So after cutting, this is how you're going to join it. You turn your fabric into the right side. When you turn it to the right side, you now place it either from the peplum side to the upper side, and you're going to now sew by 1/2 inch. After sewing, this is what you're going to have, and that is where our button allowance is going to sit. And we are going to do it on this other side as well. You know, your button allowance is on two sides. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and go and do it and come back and show you what I just did. So I've gone ahead to sew it, and this is the outcome. You can see how pretty it's looking. Yep. So this is where our button is going to sit. Very easy and simple. The next thing we are going to work on is to work on our collar. So what we are going to do now is measure around our neck so that we can be able to cut our collar. I'm going to show you how to cut very easy and light collar. You don't need too much mendement there, just very easy, and it gives you a perfect double collar. So I went ahead to fold our fabric into two like so, and that folding, what I measured was 19, so I added 1 inches, which will give us 20. So the length of this is going to be 20. I just went ahead to add 1.5 inches all around the what we just folded right now, and on the tip I just give it a slight curve, and we are going to cut it 2 times. We are going to cut it into 2. this is the first one. We are going to use this one to cut another one. So before we cut another one, let's cut the upper one that is bigger. So the upper one that is bigger, I minus 2 inches from 20 and I was left with 18. So the length was 18 while the width was 3.5 inches. So this is how I achieved the upper collar, and I'm going to also cut it into 2 because all are double cutting. So I've gone ahead to cut two of them, and this is how it's looking like, and we are going to now start sewing it. So I'm going to place the right side of the upper collar to meet the right side of the second one we just cut. The second one we just cut has a joining, which I joined and now cut the normal length. So we are going to go ahead and now sew from this one end to the upper side to the down ends, which I have done, and I'm trying to bring it to the right side, and this is how it is looking. Yeah, so follow me closely. What we are going to do now is to find the midpoints. Once we find the midpoints, for the smaller ones we are also going to find the midpoints. The smaller one is called Peter Chan collar. You also find the midpoint. So this is how you layer it. The first one is you are going to bring in the upper one inside. Make sure that where you are bringing it is where that curve is sitting. You can see, watch very closely, you can see that the Peter Chan part that I'm bringing in the upper part inside is where the curve is sitting. So I start pinning it down. You see that slight curve I gave that Peter Chan? Yeah, that is the place that you're going to put your upper collar in between, starting from the middle. So after putting it in between, I still put the second one starting from the middle to meet the down one. So this is basically how you go about it. I also went ahead to pin it down, and we are going to sew. Watch my hand closely. From this curve we are going to sew into the other curve and leave half inches outside, which I have done, and we are going to now flip it the right side. You can see what we just did is to tuck in that upper part inside in between the Peter Chan collar. You can see how neat is looking. Yeah, in between the Peter Chan collar, so that we can go ahead and use that Peter Chan collar and run round our neck. So that is just it. So the first thing I did is to run the back of our neck. You can see the back part. I placed the Peter Chan collar round our neck from the back, from the right side, and after placing it, this is what is looking like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to hem the one that is facing the lining part. Hem it, top stitch on it, and that is it for your collar, and that is it. I've sewn both parts, and this is what it gave me. So if you have watched to this point, thanks for watching. If at any point you find this tutorial helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe. See you in our next video. Bye bye.